Hello, this is Paul Zemplensky with CAPSYS Technologies, and today I have the pleasure of presenting a truly innovative and a unique approach to data and document capture featuring CAPSYS Capture coupled with Computhink's ContentVerse for document management. CAPSYS Capture is a complete data and document capture solution with a powerful business process-driven experience using innovative server technology that is both scalable and extensible. Using our web-enabled client, CAPSYS Capture possesses features that you typically would only find in production capture-based applications. Yet it is accessible from any Internet Explorer desktop in the world as a thin client application. With CAPSYS Capture, you can scan your documents in New York, index using offshore labor in the Philippines, and archive your documents in the UK. CAPSYS Capture is available as a subscription-based service called CAPSYS Capture Online in a public or private cloud infrastructure, or as a traditional on-premise perpetual license purchase. CAPSYS Capture is used by many Fortune 500 companies around the globe to capture and process mission-critical documents and data, and also by small and medium-sized organizations seeking to better manage their documents and process them in order to gain operational efficiencies, increased revenues, and decreased costs. CAPSYS is used by healthcare, insurance, manufacturing, distribution, logistics, pharmaceutical, local, state, and government municipalities, as well as higher education. One of the great features of the CAPSYS Capture application is its capabilities in terms of workflow. And the workflow engine in CAPSYS does not require any programming. We provide a Visio-like interface that allows you to drag and drop components of the software that are reusable into your process maps and connect them together and configure each of the individual work steps. This allows for rapid design and management of the capture workflow process. And it's simple enough for a business analyst to be able to construct your capture workflows. We also include very powerful features such as barcode, OCR, document classification, DB lookups, and much more. And we use these components of the software to automate the capture process, eliminating much of the manual data entry steps that would require human intervention. So what you will see in the demo shortly is two components: the web client, which will allow us to process incoming email messages, do some document scanning, perform automated DB lookups and classification, quality assurance, indexing, some workflow, rubber band OCR. And we'll show you how it can be configured in such a way to be very versatile to address many different business units or departments within your enterprise. And then we'll take a look at the server side so we can show you how to quickly assemble your capture workflows, configure the quick server extensions, or what we call QSXs, and perform some of the email integration that we would have shown you in the web client demonstration. We begin our demonstration with the CAPSYS Capture web client. The CAPSYS Capture web client is accessible through the internet or the intranet using a standard Internet Explorer web browser. A user logs into the web client simply by putting in their pre-assigned user credentials, which are either maintained inside of the CAPSYS server database or by using their existing Active Directory single sign-on user account. From the CAPSYS homepage, the user can get a quick view into work that is local and only known to their particular credential in their workstation, up here in the My Work area, local batches. And then also we can see what work has been made available to them via the server with their assigned user credentials. The major functions of CAPSYS are accessible up here through the tabs. So we have Home, Capture, Classify, and Index. These tabs are made visible based on, again, user security. First thing I want to do is scan a batch. I'll go ahead and select the Capture tab. And CAPSYS supports Twain-enabled scanners from vendors such as Epson, Fujitsu, and Canon. And we leverage the Twain interface. So if Twain is installed on the workstation, the device will be made available and accessible to that user through the CAPSYS web client interface without having to go to an external application. To begin scanning, all I simply do is select the image source and what's called an image profile. The image profile, or a batch profile, is what identifies the type of work that is going to be scanned. So in this case, I've selected the AP EMG for accounts payable, and I'm going to go ahead and hit the Scan Import button, and it'll begin bringing the documents in to the viewer so that I could see them as they're being scanned. I could turn this option on or off, and I also can control all of the scanner settings by clicking this particular box here, and it'll make all of the features of the particular vendor's scanner exposed and made available through the CAPSYS interface here. Okay, so now we've gone in and scanned our batch. We also can import batches into the system manually. So I can just browse out to a network drive by clicking on the file import option, hitting scan, import, and bring in a document through that mechanism as well. So we support the importing of all kinds of different document types, Microsoft formats, Excel, PDF, etc., Microsoft Word. I may also create a batch by importing files from the desktop or local file system. To do this, I just go ahead and change my image source from the Epson scanner to file import. And then I can hit the Scan Import button and then browse out to a network drive or my local drive and bring those documents into the system. In this case, I'll bring in a PDF, but I could bring in also Microsoft Office or other TIFF or JPEG type formatted documents into the system. You'll notice also that a batch name's been automatically created and assigned. You can control the naming and the image incrementing back at the server. Once I've gone ahead and scanned my batches or imported them, the next step would be to release them. To release them means I will remove them from my local system and transmit them to the server for processing. So in this case, I'm sending it to the Microsoft Azure Cloud, which this particular system called My CAPSYS is being hosted, and those images are now being processed by the server. Now that I've created some documents and have transmitted it to the server, let's add some index information so they can be stored in the repository for archival and retrieval purposes. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the Index tab, and I'm going to pick a queue, and I'm going to call it Case Verification. And we'll notice here that there are some new documents that have arrived, and there are also some previous ones from earlier dates that have been introduced into the system. So to begin working on a document, I can pick and choose from the list, and I can quickly see that this happens to be a document that showed up in the system through email importing, and I recognize that, you know what, this is garbage, I don't need it, so I'll go ahead and mark this particular document for deletion. Now I go ahead and I pick another particular document in the list, and I notice that this document has already been pre-indexed for me. This is a result of using our advanced data extraction technology. So back on the server, it detected this document coming into the system, and it knew where to get the invoice number, supplier ID. It assigned a document type and a date to this particular document for me automatically. So here I'm just doing a visual check to make sure this information is correct. I hit complete. And now this document will be removed from the list and exported, in this case, to my ContentVerse system from our friends at Computhink. So the next step in the process is to actually try and retrieve the content that was scanned, indexed, or imported by CAPSYS and stored in the content repository of ContentVerse. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple things behind the scenes that are going on. ContentVerse has a product that they call the Automated Input Processor. To get to that, I go to Program Groups and I look up Automated Input Processor. Select that option, AIP, as ContentVerse people refer to it as. You can see I have a drive out here, or a UNC path that has been previously mapped. And this is a way, one mechanism in which we can connect the two systems. There are several different ways, but this one works effectively for this purpose, as we have a share from the cloud. So this is a using a product from Capsis called DocShare. We're mounting a external network drive that's been made available to this local on-premise implementation of ContentVerse. And we've mapped it and configured AIP to point to that particular directory in order to pull for content that's being exported out by Capsis through our release module. All I do is I go ahead and after I have that configured, is hit the start button, and it will begin monitoring that folder for any incoming files to be processed. So this would be on a server, obviously someplace, not on somebody's workstation, and it would process incoming images and metadata for processing and storage into ContentVerse. So now the next thing I'd want to do is go ahead and do the retrieval, and I'll use the ContentVerse client to perform that demonstration. So this is just standard ContentVerse. I have my server name, I have a room, I have a file drawer and file cabinet, and I have things broken down by year and month. So as filings for the month of May get created by the accounts payable process in Capsis, they're going to be automatically stored into this folder. When June rolls around, it'll automatically create a new folder for me and start storing the June invoices into the system and continue to repeat that process. And when I get into 2016, it'll automatically create that folder as well, so that users don't need to be doing that. So to go ahead and just query, this is standard ContentVerse query functionality. You'll see that we have some older documents in there, and then we have ones from today, which is when this demo was performed. So if I want to review the content, I just double click as I normally would inside ContentVerse or any other document, and my pieces of content will come up in the system automatically. Even though these originated from Capsis, they're viewable just as you would expect inside of ContentVerse. And of course, I can search on any of these index values. These are all index values that were processed by Capsis, either through automatic data extraction or manual indexing and database lookups, or a combination of any thereof. Now let's take a look at behind the scenes at the power and sophistication of the CAPSYS Capture server components. To do this, I'm going to log into the CAPSYS Capture server, and we'll begin exploring the management interface, which is where you configure all of the features and functionality of Capsys. The Capsys server is a powerful Windows service that runs continuously on a server computer, facilitate the Capsys Capture workflow processes, perform automated capture tasks, and monitor activities throughout the Capsys Capture system. Although Capsys is extremely powerful and built for high performance and high availability, we've made it very easy to design sophisticated capture workflow process using a GUI interface we call the Visual Process Designer. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Building a Capsys capture process with Capsys is as simple as drawing a map. So to begin, I'll go ahead and open up the batch profile tree, and I will use the wizard to create a new profile. I'll give it a name, demo, and we will start with a blank canvas. So I'm going to open the blank canvas up, and you can now begin dragging and dropping items on a batch profile or a document type profile. To do this, I just click on the particular item. There's always a start and there's always a stop at the batch level, and then I can begin putting the pieces or components of the Capsys Capture automation called QSXs onto my process map. So for example, if the first thing I'd like to do is detect a barcode, I can click on the barcode item from the list, drop it on my map. Then I can pick another QSX, such as, let's say I want to perform OCR. And perhaps then after that I want to have users review the work. And then I would want to send it to a document level or a doc type profile for further processing. To make this all work, I go ahead and connect the lines. I can have exception outcomes as well as valid outcomes called complete. I want to say in this case my exceptions, I want to go to the same place as my completed items. Just in this example, you can route them differently. Okay. And we are complete as far as drawing the map out. The next step of the process would be to configure these particular items. So if I want to have the barcode module detect, let's say patch codes of various sorts, and then automatically assign a doc type to them, that's what I could use patch codes and barcodes for. I can also have the barcode be read to determine a value of that barcode. So first thing I do is enable the barcode, then pick the doc type, and then tell the application what type of barcode am I expecting. Am I expecting, for example, 2D data matrix barcodes? And then I can map this particular barcode to a specific field I have defined in my application, or I can do barcode detection by defining zones. So I can load a sample image and then draw a zone around that sample image, and then map that zone to a particular field. Once I have completed the construction of my process map, the next step would be to activate it, which would then put this particular map into production. I also can assign what we call queues. Queues are where we have user events, where we require user intervention. So in this case, I'm saying all outcomes of the optical character recognition process, I want to go to this queue, and perhaps I'd like to label it something a little more friendly, such as QCAPQ, and then I would like to assign specific users to that particular queue. So one or more users can be assigned access to these queues. And then you hit the activate button, and this becomes now available in production for people to use. The next step is, after we have gone through this particular batch profile, our documents, we notice it hits the assembly event, which this is what triggers it to move down to what we call our document type profile. In this case, I have an example set up where I'm going to follow this particular workflow process. One of the steps I have incorporated into this workflow is, if I come across any documents that are in Microsoft Office format or HTMLs or a variety of different formats, anything other basically than a PDF or a TIFF, I'm going to tell the system to convert that or re-render that document into either a TIFF document or a PDF. So here's where I configure all of that to occur. After it's done with that event, I'm going to send it to a user or a group of users for them to review, called case verification. This is good for like order processing or accounts payable or underwriting. You want to have somebody review the work after it's been processed by the system. And then finally, I'm going to send it to the ContentVerse system for archival. And so this is a QSX that's specifically designed to map the data in the documents to the ContentVerse system using their foldering and application file cabinet metaphor. With that, this concludes our demonstration and presentation of CAPSYS Capture Online to integrate it with Computhink's ContentVerse product. On behalf of the employees, stakeholders, and partners of CAPSYS Technologies, I want to thank you for your time today and for the opportunity to present a truly innovative approach to data and document capture from CAPSYS Technologies.